we're hearing, we're preaching to the choir,
Yes.
no pun
Right,
intended,
yes, absolutely.
to vote. And I'm trusting that everybody in here are registered voters. But I have a 25 and a 23-year-old in my house.
Mhm.
Now I know the 23-year-old's gonna vote. And I'm not sure what I can do to get that 25-year-old to vote. My question is, how do we get these millennials and these youngins who are so apathetic? They've come through the pandemic. They feel that their voice is not only not heard, but it's, voting. They just are too far away from the MLK movement,
Yes.
and they're not attached to it. What can we suggest? What can we do on the campuses? We have 6 campuses that are very close to Newark, right?
Yes.
Including, I always include Kane and MSU,
Mhm.
but between NJIT and Essex County and Rutgers and Pillar,
Right.
we have enough that we can do. What can we do to encourage, to entice, to move the needle?
So the sister that's coming with the bus is going to have 20 young folks on the bus with her. Young folks that want to join on the bus can join. They're going to go to King. They're going to go to Rutgers. They're going to Newark and New Brunswick. And so I would encourage a 25-year-old, if you can, grab the 25-year-old up. My 25 might be a little bigger than you, but come on, we got to go. And go to when the bus tour, in fact, I've been, somehow, it's always interesting to me how I get pulled into stuff, but I'm grateful to be in this equation. There is a temporary or early list of where these stops are going to be. And so I'm hoping that this week will be finalized, and so I can certainly email it out to Sandra, to whoever else, and then we can be distributed so that folks will know where the bus is going to be. But that's the whole intention, to generate some interest. And then, we don't have to go back to King, we can go back to Barack. So one of the challenges that we face, so when Barack ran, Barack got 90% of the black male vote. When
For mayor?
No.
You're
Barack.
Obama.
Yeah, right. No. When Barack Obama ran, 90% of the black male vote. When Kamala Harris ran, it was 77%.
Right.
Right? And so every year since Barack ran for president, the number of black men voting has been declining. And so part of the challenge, which is why I wanted to make sure that we're talking about, in addition to voting, because that's just one thing, and I think that we need to emphasize to everyone, this is just one tool. Our mentorship programs are another tool, right? Whatever we can do to expose our children to some opportunities of information that's going to help them to realize some options that may exist that they didn't think were possible for them, the better we are. The better we are. And so it's up to us to figure out how we do that, right? How do we make sure that our children see some things? So when my children were young, and shameless plug, I've been a single father. Young guy used to tell them, I want you to have a future so bright, you've got to wear shades. It worked to a limited degree. But and I do think that that's the question that we have to help our children see, that there are options available to them that may not necessarily be, that they may not recognize at the time. Because this generation, the level of distraction with this generation is higher than any other time in history. They did a study and showed that like every 30 seconds to 2 minutes, people looking at their phones. So I'm thankful all of you are paying attention and looking at you. When we had dinner together, you could not have your phone. No phones permitted at the dinner table. We're here to interact with each other. We're not here to interact with your technology. And so our children now, right, they're distracted with the phones. Peer pressure on the sneakers. You gotta have a hot phone, hot sneakers. I mean, and these things are not cheap. These things are not cheap. So how do we help youngsters who are faced with these challenges? Their self-esteem is tied to their technology and their sneakers. How do we help them to recognize that, no, you are the most valuable thing, not your technology, your phone, or your sneakers. It's up to us to reaffirm that. Yes, Jim?
Yeah, and I want to say it's what you consume on your technology.
Yes.
That is the important thing. And unfortunately, and I'm publish a magazine, and in no way am I saying that we are an answer, because we're not. But what has happened to us over the years is that our media black media, black newspapers
Mhm.
during civil rights and before were the way that we knew what
Correct.
was happening in our
Yes.
communities.
Right.
And unfortunately, both as individuals and as businesses and as corporations, we began to see or began to feel that the general media was more important than our own media.
Mhm.
So there's very little media that you can see today that tells the real black story of what's happening today.
Mhm.
And you know, my business, we can't even do that because of, you know, the lack of funding and,
Right.
you know, the money to do the research and to, I would love to have a reporter here to report what's happening here because
Mhm.
this, right now, what you're doing today is the only way right now that we are going to survive.
Yes.
It has to be each one of us to do something. Positive community cannot do it.
Mhm.
You know, is there other black media in New Jersey that reports anything that is going on? I don't think so.
Very
There is
limited.
one.
Very limited.
There's one online, the Urban News.
Okay.
But again, it's not the day-to-day stuff that we need to be informed about.
Yes.
And so it's this. You know, we need to form some kind of an organization that says, I'll host a similar something in my house and invite my friends
Mhm. Mhm.
to understand. But it has to be done quickly.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
And I think, you know, like in this room, like we're older people, okay?
Yeah.
And the young people are out on the deck, and I'm like, Amber, come in here. You know, we don't need to be separated. They need to hear this.
Mhm.
You know, so I'm like, come in here
Right.
and understand and learn.
Did they come in?
Well, Amber did
Amber,
because
yeah.
because I, you know, like put a chain on her and pulled her in here. You know, but I want
That's
them
a
to.
beginning.
It's the beginning, right? But I
Yes.
want at least we have her in here, and she can understand.
Yes.
So,
yes.
so I want to ask a question. How many of you know this expression? We have formed this circle as a sign of unity and strength.
Yes.
We want each one to be able to reach one,
Mm-hmm.
so that each one can.
Teach
Each
one.
one.
And so that's what I'm saying. It's up to us. There isn't anything to prevent us from hosting these types of events more consistently. And so, you know, Ozzy was my children's first drum teacher. His former wife was their dance teacher. And so this goes back over 30 years. And so I'm grateful that get Ozzy and Rudy here because when he was playing on the drums, like I know that energy in the room was going to be
Right.
enormous. There was no question about it. And then I came in and saw Sandra with her, you know, Harry Tubman on, like, listen, we about to take that, make those moves now. It's up to us. But sometimes I think that, you know, we don't, every generation has, and I think it's Amilcar Cabral that said, or either Franz Fanon said, every generation has to meet the challenge of its time.
Right.
Our challenge now is to engage our children and engage our community without permission from white people,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
And so we have to make a decision. So in addition to the media, folks went to church. And I'll be honest, I'm not a church goer, but I respect people that do go. But there was a role for the black church to play,
True.
right? And how information was communicated. And so these institutions are still present, right? And so Charles Boyer is doing some serious work.
Not the same. though.
The Salvation, I agree with the Salvation for Social Justice doing some serious work. You know, and so it's up to us to make sure that we are engaged in these institutions, that we are passing on information, that we are encouraging people to participate, because that is going to be what is going to save us. Yes,
Let me
sir.
say something. Let me hug this sister over here
Oh, thank
for
you.
hosting this event.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I received an invite from her sister Pat, and I got very excited for many reasons. Years ago, when we would have Kwanzaa, I've always felt that as much as we're going to acknowledge these principles, they ought not just to be in the month of December. Those principles can be acknowledged each and every month, where different people will host friends to come over. I haven't seen this brother in a long time. The last time is probably at Rutgers beating the drum.
Really?
Yeah. Long time. Yeah, but anyhow, getting back to the conversation, with regards to that situation, the sister here raised a very good point about the campuses. The incident that occurred on September 10th, and I use an incident, September 10th, my mom called, oh, they shot somebody. Because I had just traveled to the West Coast. They shot somebody. Of course, we found out that the flags were at half-mast and everything else and the craziness, right? But what you mentioned is that he was known for this quote-unquote turning point of going to college campuses and speaking his ideologies, all right? So with reference to not only the election that is coming up, that it ought to be addressed to our younger folk, we should have these conversations. Only today I ran across something I saw Dr. Henry Clark, 1984 at NJIT. The events that were held at First World Alliance, Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, Amos Wilson, Ben Surdma, you name it. The litany of names in our historical archives. They called it University on a Hill. And they had nothing to do with whether or not we were in Black History Month, because it was consistent throughout every Saturday for years upon years. Then myself and a few others, Brother Stedman, may so rest in peace, we started African Echoes for the same purpose of having these kinds of conversations. So when I got this invite that, wait a minute, we're in October, we're going to have this conversation, I was so excited about it. And to hear you both mention that it should be ongoing, yes, I'm in full agreement. I think we all are capable of doing it, and we ought to consider doing it. Because, you know, it's gotten so diminished with regards to our history that most of the younger folks are not aware. Who is Dr. Clark? Who is Van Surdman? Who is Dr. Ben? What you talking about?
Well, that's our fault.
Well, you know, we don't point no fingers. The thing is that what we are capable of doing, and that's why I said I want to respect and acknowledge you for doing what you're doing today.
Yes.
All right? And like I said, you know, those messages can be dealt with. And like you said, the black media is responsible for getting the information into our communities. There's no WLIB. There's no Percy Sutton.
And I think
There's, you know, all these things are gone, right?
I worked at LIB.
Okay,
and now
okay.
I'm depositing.
Yeah.
So my job has been in the last 40 years to try to give
Yeah,
our people, the media,
yeah.
the knowledge that they
Yeah.
needed to have, information.
Wonderful. And, you know, so just saying kudos and endorsing what you both said, you know, about the campuses, and it ought not just to be for the election, because it's coming up in a couple of weeks. That's all I
Okay,
wanted
thank
to say.
you. Now I think we're gonna move to our presentation.
Well, first, before that,
Oh.
I'd like to give these two gentlemen.
Oh, definitely.
Thank you so much.
Definitely. Bill,
Bill Davis, I know.
Ivor,
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 Your name?
Elaine.
Ivor. Elaine? Yes.
I just want to add something.
sure.
We, in regard to our young people, I think it's really important that we think about what excites them. You're not going to reach them unless you can get them excited. And I know one of the things that excites our people is when they learn about themselves. I don't think our young people know enough about themselves, about the power that they yield and can wield. They don't know enough about it. You know? That's how we're going to bring them in. You know, if they only know that practically everything we touch, we invented, that alone will excite them. But they don't,
Yes
you know what I'm
and
saying? But we have to be able to share these kind of things.
I think it can happen through, I'm an advocate for the arts, and a lot of our children are about this Jersey Club movement. They're about poetry and open mics. They're about, you know, poetic justice. And so I think if we can craft gatherings around their having a voice and having a moment in open mic, we may get them to the room. If we just say, come and learn your black history and let's vote, they're not coming.
Right.
Even if you have free chicken.
Right.
So, and we know every university university student needs a free meal other than ramen.
True that.
But they do listen to poetry. And so if you get the right people, you know, including Roz Baraka, he has no problem, you know, sharing. But getting the right young people sharing. We just did a poetry and praise this past week, and it was phenomenal what these young people have to say about not only the church, but just Black history. Because they do have a strong opinion. But we got to get to them now to see if we can advocate for, if we host the event and buy the chicken, have them come and become the performers at the events. That's what will draw the young people, I think.
Amber, you're in your 20s. So, what do you think we can do to bridge the gap and to learn and understand?
Yeah, no, I definitely think that Saisha said it. I think she said it. I think aiding to what interests younger people will actually bring them there, and then the conversation can be expanded from there. Because even coming in here, you said I want you to come in here because they're talking about the Black family and marriage. I'm married, so I'm like, okay, like I'm interested. And I think when it connects to a younger person and what it could do for our future, or learning about the past, and I think that's important. But the approach is important in terms of getting people in, because I think during this time, like from what I know about Black history, from what you all have lived, it's I don't feel like I'm living the same thing you all have lived, and I think the conversation may have looked a little different back then. You just came together because you had to. It was like a moment where like we have to now, but I think it was like a kind of a different feel, and I think coming together was more prevalent then because it was a movement of changing a lot more, and now it's like, how do we learn how to continue that going on? So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it has to be in your way, not our way.
Right.
Our way.
For sure.
Yeah, you
For
know,
sure.
it has to be the way you guys do it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm interested in, not what
Yeah.
you know. But if you guys understand, for instance, what we did, then I think it makes it better. You guys can say, well, you guys did that under those circumstances.
Right.
What?
Right.
What's our excuse now? You know.
Right.
So okay, I know we can do this, this, and this. So it's just a matter of sparking, so you guys can take it and run. That's basically it. And then you know that we're here whenever you need us.
What do you see that might be different about how we are, or how we lived, and for instance, with this administration, our government today, what is your feeling about that, and what's happening?
So.
And do you get all of the information that you think you need to have in order to make a decision about that?
So for me, and my mom will tell you this, I think it just depends on what type of someone said something about consumption. Is that you? What you consume? Is that
Yes.
Yeah. So even like with this administration, I don't watch the news just to watch it. Like I just don't do that because I feel like it makes me feel a way I do not want to feel.
But how did you know that if you hadn't been watching it?
Because I've watched it.
Okay.
Right. When parents have it on, I'll hear something, and the thing about this generation, a lot of my friends don't either. Like it's not something that we just sit and watch. Like we have social media, like we get things from there. So with this administration, I can see what they're doing. I can make a decision based off, honestly, really like social media outlets.
But
right?
do you? That's the question. What have you gotten from your social media that tells you how you should, that helps you make a decision about how you feel, how you proceed in your life and your children's life, and how what they are doing affects you and your family, and not only your current family, but your mom and your dad and all of us.
So what have I gotten from
Yes.
my social media?
Right.
You mean like, what do you
What is the information that you have that will allow you to make a decision about who you vote for? Let's just start there.
Okay.
If you think it's important to vote.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel it's important to vote. I definitely feel because people die first to be able to vote. It's like why not take advantage of what we have now? I feel like what have I taken away? I think I want to answer your question, but I'm having a hard time. Like, do you specifically want to know like what things I've taken away from what I see from different candidates, or like what's the question?
In the general manure of what is happening in this country,
Yeah.
how do you feel about your, let's make it very personal, how do you feel about your ability to continue to raise your family
Oh, okay.
in a way that your
Okay.
children are going to live their best lives? And
I think that starts for me, honestly, with my faith. I think that starts with God and the cover of protection that I feel like I have over my life. I'll be honest, because there's a lot of things out here, like you guys have gone through so much and you're still here, right? So it's like the cover of protection I believe I have to focus on, all right, how can I pour into my kids? How can I do this? How can me and my husband continue to raise a strong Black family and not be distracted by a lot of outside noise? And that's like, so it's an internal working on value, like what Mr.
Bill Davis.
Mr. Davis was saying, like my worth and my value, because that is what's going to help my kids, is what I pour into myself and what I'm sharing with them, not what I'm hearing from the outside world that's trying to make me live in fear. Like, I don't want to live in fear, right? So it's like, there's real things going on. Like, my mom was telling me about things, and at first I was like, I don't want to hear this, but the thing is, I need to know, but I don't base my life off of these things, because I don't live my life and take my steps in fear, because God has a bigger mission for me than being in fear.
So can I just share with you though, you're not living in fear when you know knowledge is power.
Right.
You're living as a strategist. You
Okay.
have babies.
Yeah.
And the two people that are up for governorship,
Mm-hmm.
one of them wants to segregate the schools.
Okay.
Segregating the schools now means that your child will not get the education
Yeah.
that their counterparts will. That means that they will not be prepared for college. So yes, you're the primary educator, but you're out working. And
Right.
you can't provide the same type of education. So we don't want you to live in fear. We want you to live in knowledge. And there's a difference. You can filter out some of the mess, right? But you got to get the information. And your generation is not interested in it. You're saying exactly what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want any of it because there's so much mess.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even want to take in the information. But as strategists, you have to start thinking about investments now, because your Social Security will not be in place.
Correct.
Under
Correct.
you know what I mean? So
Correct.
when you get
100%.
to my age,
100%.
you need to figure out now how you can invest in yourself and your children.
100%.
That's strategy.
I think those conversations are important. Me and my husband, we have a business. We have our own business, right? So it's like, and it doesn't have to be, it could be any business. It could be any, whatever, it doesn't matter.
And thank you for being here, answering the
Of
questions
course,
on
of
behalf
course.
of the
I mean, I'm not like, I'm one person. But I think this
You're
is
representing.
important. Like, yeah, so it's like, what things in this time that we have access to, right? Like, so for example, like for schools and the segregation and resources that would not be going to Black children,
Right.
like, for me, if I had to, like, I would homeschool, but that's just different. Not everyone can
everybody
do
can't
that.
do that.
Not everyone can do that. So I think that's very important. And yeah, no, I definitely agree, especially about strategy for long term. And that's why I was saying, like the fear-based mentality, because it's like, if we are going along with this plan that was built right, okay, not a lot of my generation, we kind of jump from job to job. We don't stay in one place, right? Like we go out, we're starting to branch out and do different things, and it's like, if we don't break that cycle of like the 40-year plan, a lot of people can't even retire by 70. They need to keep working.
Right.
You know what I mean? But people, our young Black people, we're starting
That's
to get that
strategy,
though.
exactly.
Yeah, the
Right.
strategy.
Yeah.
We're starting to get that, and when we think about things that speak to that and where it's going, I think that'll help us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
One of the things I think
Yeah.
I think the journalists ask for is that how do you get information? I think that
the generation of today that's coming up, they get their information from their phone,
100%.
and so everything is an allegory. So if you look for one thing on your phone, notice that if you're talking about a bra, all of a sudden you turn on your
The
TV,
algorithms.
and the algorithms and everything comes out. The bra that you're talking about, that's what comes up every commercial. So understand that, when you are looking for a candidate to vote for, I purposely look for both. So now they're confused about what the hell I want. You know what I'm saying? I purposely have Fox News on my stuff, and I have CNN on my stuff. I have NSBC, because what happened is this: if you only gear towards that, they only give you that information. And so you have to be careful what you search for, because when you're searching for something, it allows you to get narrow-minded.
Then they pigeonhole you too. They can predict what you're thinking because based on what you're
Yeah, but there's so
searching
much
for.
false news out there.
Exactly.
So it confuses them when you do everything.
Their goal is to make sure that we get enough black folks out to drag Mikey over the finish line. And so I'm hoping that despite having to hold the nose and pull the lever, that we're going to encourage other people to get to the polls and make sure that we don't get this fool a Trump light here in New Jersey. And so for all the flaws that Murphy and Mikey may have, they're not going to green light troops coming in here. We just cannot. I was in Plainfield in '67 when the troops came to Plainfield. I saw the National Guard and the tanks rolling from one side of town to the other side of town. And so I am not interested in seeing anything like that right now, at all. And so it's why it's important to me that we collectively make a decision about what our role is going to be, because it's up to us. We're the deciding factor. As Malcolm used to say, you can know who goes to the White House or who goes to the penthouse. To the outhouse. But any questions, sisters and brothers? I am grateful. Where's our gracious hope? Our gracious hope, Sandra. Come show Sandra some love. That's been here, working, doing all this stuff, bringing us together. Rock this beautiful hair, tubbing shirt.